I broke a file. Now what? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fourth episode of Endocast. As usual, hosted by Ahmed Shoki. Hi Ahmed.
And hi, Francesca, my co-host in this episode as well. As we told you before, that we will ask one of our friends to help us in resolving the problem of the worst nightmare, which is the broken files, as we discussed in the three episodes before. Our guest is on his way, so we are probably going to discuss something very important until he arrives. Francesca, what happens when you break a file? I know that tingling sensation running all over your body, that panic attack.
Yes, and I think that when we break a file, the most important thing to do is to control our emotions and don't panic. Because when you are calm, you will be able to analyze the options that you have. And most importantly, to be frank with yourself and understand whether you will be able to manage the accident or not.
That's I agree with you, but what if the operator is stressed from the accident, is exhausted, for example, for a long appointment? What shall he do?
Well, in this case, I think that the smart move is to reschedule the patient. Because when we get emotional or we spend too long in a case, and so we are super focused and trying to do something and we don't make it. So it's better to stop before doing a procedural error because sometimes it happens. And so many times when we see the patient in a second appointment, we are able to manage the case better, just like this, because we are fresh and we are not so stressed from all what has happened before. And also, if the clinician doesn't have the tools or the experience, for the sake of the patient, the case should be referred.
I totally agree with you, and in this aspect, I have to mention that many colleagues are too concerned about telling the patient what really happened with the accident. I mean, and my message to them that the patient must be aware of the risks of the endodontic treatments. Some accidents can happen unintentionally, especially in difficult cases. We need to address that to the patient before, and I repeat, before the treatment, during the informed consent. In this way, no stress on the clinician, no stress on the patient, and we will understand each other in a way much better than hiding the truth from the patient.
Yeah, very wise words. I think you are totally right in this. But what do you analyze when you break a file?
Well, there are many factors that determine the strategy because it's all about the strategy. It's not about only the steps. It's the strategy in dealing with that accident, the broken file. They are all important, but I love to mention in the beginning the pre-status of the tooth, whether the tooth is already having a lesion or no lesion, the time at which the accident happened. Did I break the file at the beginning of the treatment before any cleaning, or the broken file was the last file after all the procedures, like a master file? The length of the fragment is very important because it would determine whether I go for one strategy like bypass or retrieval. The visibility, will I be able to see the file under magnification or not? And last but not least, the anatomy in which the file is resting right now after the accident. Well, based on these factors, we need to know what we have as an option for dealing with that accident.
Yeah, we have several options because we can retrieve the file, which is, I think, the preferred option for the patient because nobody wants a separated file in their mouth. Then we can go for a bypass. But sometimes we also can do nothing. We just clean and obturate up to the block and then we monitor the case over time. And in some cases, we have to do apical microsurgery. So there's a broad variety of options that we have.
Yeah, there is no single management strategy to deal with all broken files. We have to analyze the factors and see our options that we can do it at the end or refer it. Let me get this more clear. Would a broken file affect the endodontic treatment outcome?
Well, there are several articles analyzing the impact of a fracture instrument on the outcome of the treatment, and they all arrive to the same conclusion. That is, that the prognosis depends mainly on the preoperative status of the tooth. The presence of a lesion is what affects the outcome the most. So, if we are not able to retrieve or to bypass the file in a root treatment, for example, our chances to succeed are lower, but not significantly lower. To speak numbers, in a in an article they compared case control studies, and we see that the outcome in a case with or without retained file changes by 1%. So this is not significant. The presence of a preoperative lesion is significant.
I totally agree with that because our main objective in endodontic treatment is treatment and prevention of apical periodontitis. So, if we cannot or we could not eliminate the cause of the disease from the root canal because there is a file inside and we cannot clean all around, especially when the file is broken in the early stages of the treatment, then the outcome might be affected. But do we always, and I speak in this question about even endodontist, can we always be successful in removing the file, which is the best option I know, but is it a for granted fact that we remove every single instrument that we face?
I would like to say yes, but unfortunately, the success rate of being able to remove separated instruments ranges from 48 to 95%. And it all depends on the factors that you have mentioned before.
Well, that's a huge difference in the percentage from 50 to 90%. I guess I need to ask you in this aspect one more question. Are all files meant to be removed? We have a broken file in a tooth. Is it very important that this file should be removed, or we can have some discussion about that?
Well, I think that there are some cases in which we really can think to just fill and follow up. One example is, for example, when we have confluent canals, and we know for sure that those two canals are confluent, and the other part of the canal is patent. So I'm not stressing and not removing dentine, trying to retrieve a file when I know that I have a good path to the apex. And so I just do my root canal therapy and I fill up to that block. And there is another case in which we can just consider not to remove the separated file, which is when we have a vital case with no lesion and the file is broken just at the apical level. And so it's not extruding, it's not short, and it makes me laugh because when I was at one of Fabio Garni's courses, he told us that one of the filling techniques described by the literature was with a broken file. So we could consider it as a filling technique. Of course, in this case, we have to inform the patient and we have to monitor the case over time.
I totally agree with that because we need to make sure that our strategy followed in that case is successful. So we need to monitor, of course, the patient, and it's not a reason for the clinician just to break the last file and consider it a filling technique. But we need to deal with the situation, not to take it as a solution for obturation, for example. In this way, if we reach it that we obturate on the block and leave the file in those cases only, and I repeat, on those cases, so we can save more dentine, more time, have a more relaxed patient, and the file is resting in peace in its place without any disturbance. So I guess our guest has arrived, and we need to prepare to welcome him. So I need to declare that in the next episode we will host Dr. Muhammad Zafarani, our gold member, still Italiano endodontics, to be with us to help us to understand better how to manage the worst nightmare.
And I cannot wait to hear what he has to say on this topic. I'm very excited about he being our guest. But guys, if you have questions, doubts, or suggestions, just please drop us a line and we will get back to you. And stay tuned and see you in the next episode of Endocast.